Most people don't realize that relationships rarely fail because of a lack of love. They fail because of a lack of understanding. Two people can care deeply for each other and still feel lonely if they do not feel understood. Psychology explains why empathy is the invisible force that keeps relationships stable. It is more than kindness. It is the ability to step into another person's emotional world and see it from the inside. When empathy is present, connection deepens. When it is absent, even small problems feel threatening. By the end of this conversation, you will understand why empathy improves communication, builds trust, deepens intimacy, transforms conflict, strengthens emotional well-being, and even shapes the next generation. More importantly, you will see how empathy changes the emotional atmosphere of your everyday interactions. Let us begin with communication. Many arguments are not about the topic being discussed. They are about the feeling underneath it. When someone says, "You never listen," they are usually saying, "I don't feel heard." Empathy changes how the brain processes conversation. When a person feels understood, their nervous system relaxes, stress hormones decrease, and the brain becomes more open to reasoning. Without empathy, the brain shifts into defense mode. It prepares to fight, justify, or withdraw. Think about the last disagreement you had. Did you focus on proving your point or understanding theirs? That one difference often determines whether a conflict escalates or resolves. Empathy does not mean agreement. It means acknowledging that the other person's feelings make sense from their perspective. Communication becomes deeper when both partners feel safe to speak honestly. Empathy creates that safety. It sends a quiet message that says, "Your experience matters here." Now consider trust. Trust is not built only through loyalty or honesty. It is built through emotional safety. When someone feels that their emotions will not be mocked, dismissed, or minimized, they begin to open up. The brain associates safety with predictability and acceptance. If every vulnerable moment is met with criticism, the brain learns to protect itself by hiding. Over time, emotional distance grows, but when empathy is consistent, openness increases. Ask yourself something important. Does your partner feel safe telling you uncomfortable truths, and do you feel safe doing the same? Trust is not simply about actions, it is about how we handle each other's feelings. Empathy also deepens intimacy. Intimacy is not only physical closeness, it is emotional exposure without fear. It is saying, "This is how I really feel," and knowing you will not be rejected for it. When partners empathize with each other's struggles and joys, they create a shared emotional language. This strengthens attachment. The brain releases bonding chemicals when we feel emotionally seen. That is why being understood can feel as powerful as being embraced. Here's something surprising. Many people believe intimacy grows from excitement and passion. In reality, it grows from vulnerability met with compassion. Empathy turns vulnerability into connection instead of shame. Conflict is unavoidable in any relationship. Differences in personality, stress, and expectations naturally create tension, but empathy transforms the meaning of conflict. Without empathy, conflict becomes a competition. Each person tries to win. With empathy, conflict becomes collaboration. Each person tries to understand. When you pause during an argument and ask, "What might they be feeling right now?" you interrupt your own defensive response. That small pause can prevent hours of damage. Empathy slows reactions and encourages reflection. Imagine two partners arguing about finances. One sees irresponsibility, the other feels controlled. Without empathy, they attack each other's character. With empathy, they recognize fear underneath the disagreement. One fears instability, the other fears restriction. Understanding the fear changes the conversation. Empathy also provides support and validation during difficult times. Life brings stress, disappointment, and loss. In those moments, advice is often less important than presence. When someone says, "I understand why this hurts," it reduces emotional isolation. The brain interprets validation as connection. Even if the problem remains unsolved, the person feels less alone. Have you ever noticed how quickly emotional pain softens when someone truly listens? That is empathy in action. It does not remove hardship, but it makes hardship bearable. Validation is not the same as endorsing every reaction. It simply means acknowledging that the emotion exists and has a reason. That acknowledgement can prevent resentment from building silently. Empathy also strengthens emotional well-being. Feeling consistently misunderstood can lead to frustration and sadness. Feeling understood increases relationship satisfaction and personal happiness. When partners validate each other's feelings, they reinforce self-worth. The message becomes, "Your emotions are legitimate." Over time, this creates a stable emotional environment. The nervous system thrives in environments of acceptance. Chronic criticism keeps the body in a subtle state of tension. Empathy reduces that tension. It allows both individuals to relax into the relationship instead of constantly guarding themselves. Let me ask you something reflective. In your closest relationships, do you feel more judged or more understood? That answer often reveals why certain connections feel energizing while others feel draining. Empathy is not automatic. It requires effort, especially during stress. When we're tired or overwhelmed, our focus narrows to our own needs. This is natural, but relationships suffer when self-focus becomes the default. Developing empathy means intentionally widening your perspective. It means asking questions before making conclusions. It means listening without preparing your defense while the other person is still speaking. One subtle shift can make a difference. Instead of responding with advice immediately, respond with curiosity. Ask, "What was that like for you?" Curiosity opens doors, assumptions close them. There's also a generational impact. Children raised in environments where empathy is practiced learn emotional intelligence naturally. They observe how adults handle disagreements and vulnerability. When children see conflicts resolved with understanding rather than hostility, they internalize that model. They grow up believing that emotions are safe to express. This shapes how they approach friendships, partnerships, and even workplace relationships later in life. In contrast, environments lacking empathy often teach emotional suppression or aggression. The cycle continues unless someone consciously changes it. Practicing empathy today influences the relational patterns of tomorrow. It is important to acknowledge that empathy does not mean tolerating harmful behavior. Boundaries and empathy can exist together. You can understand someone's feelings while still protecting your own needs. Healthy empathy balances compassion with self-respect. It recognizes that both perspectives matter. This balance prevents relationships from becoming one-sided. Here's a final insight. Empathy often feels small in the moment, a gentle response instead of a sharp one, a pause instead of an interruption, a question instead of an accusation. But over time, these small choices accumulate into deep trust and resilience. Relationships are not strengthened by grand gestures alone. They're strengthened by consistent emotional understanding. Empathy acts like quiet glue, holding everything together even during stress. When you begin to practice empathy intentionally, you may notice something unexpected. Conflicts feel less threatening. Conversations feel more meaningful. The atmosphere between you and others feels lighter. Empathy is not weakness. It is emotional intelligence in action. It requires awareness, patience, and humility, but its impact is profound. If this perspective resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on one relationship where empathy could be strengthened. Consider starting with one small shift in how you listen or respond. Share your thoughts in the comments and continue exploring how understanding can transform the way you connect with the people who matter most.